All of the famous Gemaras that are relevant to the remarkable scene of the giving of the Torah, perhaps the most famous question on the most famous Gemara regards the Gemara that says that God, whatever exactly this means, turned over the mountain and held it over the Jewish people, Kaf Aleim Har Kegigis, and said, if you accept the Torah, good, and if not, that will be your burial place. In other words, implying that God would drop the mountain down upon the Jewish people and kill them. And so therefore the Jewish people are forced to accept the Torah, because if not, they would lose their lives. It's a difficult Gemara to understand on many levels, but one of the difficulties is we so proudly remember the fact that the Jewish people at the giving of the Torah said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will hear, we're ready to sign on to the mitzvahs even without understanding all of them, even without knowing what all of them are. The Jewish people respond with remarkable alacrity and energy that they want to accept the Torah. So if that's an appropriate description of the Jewish people's attitude towards accepting the Torah, why does God even have to hold the mountain over them? I thought their outlook was that they're very excited to do it. So famous question, numerous answers given to the question. I would like to share with you one answer said by the Maral. That is, the Maral explains, of course the Jewish people were very excited to accept the Torah, and they were ready to accept the Torah. But if God would have just said to them, will you accept the Torah? And they say, yes, Na'aseh v'nishma, there actually would be a big problem. And the problem would be that the Jewish people would think of the acceptance of the Torah as an option. God gave us this remarkable opportunity, and we accepted it. And if there's a later juncture in time that we're not interested, we could say thanks for the opportunity up until now, but no thanks from here on out. And therefore, says the Maral, despite the Jewish people's great excitement about accepting the Torah, that wasn't enough for Hashem. Hashem holds the mountain over them, which means that even though the Jewish people deserve great credit for being excited and energized to accept the Torah, for all generations, the Jewish people need to understand something else, which is, it's wonderful that we were excited to accept the Torah, but even if we're not excited to accept the Torah, even if we don't want to observe the mitzvos, it's incumbent upon us. It's not only because we chose it, it's because God said, this is what you need to do. And that means that for all generations, hopefully we always look at it as a great, remarkable opportunity, but we also have to see it as our God-given responsibility for each and every member of the Jewish people throughout the generations. And it's actually somewhat difficult to appreciate in a sense. You know, if you say that the Torah is God gave us a choice, so some people accept the challenge, some people don't accept the challenge. Okay, everyone makes their own decisions. That feels very good. If it's just that, listen, we're members of Klal Yisrael and we just have to do it. We have to do our best. It's not up to us. It doesn't necessarily feel so good. I just would like to share one possibly shifting of the perspective a little bit. Maybe it'll be a little bit helpful. Why would we intuitively think that it should be up to us whether or not we do the mitzvos, whether or not we accept the challenge of doing the mitzvos? That makes sense if you see the purpose of doing the mitzvos as benefiting me. If the mitzvos benefit me, so if I don't want the benefit, I won't have the benefit. Why would God need to hold the mountain over the Jewish people? But let's say for a moment, the purpose of our fulfilling the mitzvos are for the world, to bring the spirituality of God and his Torah to the world. Or let's say the purpose of our fulfilling the mitzvos are for the rest of the Jewish people, for future generations, for people in our times, whatever it is, then it's incumbent upon us. People are counting on us. The world is counting on us. The legacy of Klal Yisrael is counting on us. We just have to do it. If I could give a simple mushal for a moment, imagine, heaven forbid, person has a medical emergency and they end up in the emergency room, in the hospital, and there's only one hospitalist present. No one else is there. And it's a dire situation. And whatever, the triage nurse comes and tells the doctor, you got to see this patient. And the doctor says, it's been a long day. I'm sick and tired of seeing people. I'm going home. And the nurse says, you can't go home. You've got to help this person. And the doctor says, well, if the hospital doesn't want to pay me for the next hour, the hospital won't pay me for the next hour. It's fine. And the nurse says, no, it's not about payment. We need you. Lahavdil, Klal Yisrael and the world need each and every one of us. It might not feel good at first glance to see the Torah as being something that's imposed upon our people. But actually, the more we think about it, the more we realize how essential we are and how much of an honor that is. Everyone should have a wonderful and uplifting Yom Tov, and we should all have the opportunity over Shavuos to just reflect on this remarkable Torah that we have and our extraordinary mission in this world. Have a good Yom Tov.